You look like you've been to Target.
Actually, I was there last night, but not today. I was out of time, so otherwise I would have made it a priority. As I was sitting here looking around the room, I was thinking about just how amazing it is to be able to stand up here and be alive. So many people haven't gotten that privilege, and so I'm really thankful. I've written this speech in my head over 100 times in the last couple of months, and I must say that I didn't expect to feel so emotional because I am so thankful. Among so many special friends that are here tonight and people who have literally helped save my life are my mom and my sister. They came in from Texas, and I'm so thrilled to have them here. My mom has had a little bit of health problems in the last couple of years, and so tonight when they got to be here, that just icing on the cake for me. I don't know why I always allude to food. Maybe it's just appropriate. If you anticipated coming this evening and hearing that my road down recovery lane, for lack of a better word, has been simple or that it has been stress-free, then you're talking to the wrong gal. It has been very lengthy, very difficult. Some days I do struggle better than others. It's truly a daily and sometimes a moment-by-moment struggle, and it takes God, it takes guts, it takes determination, and it takes an amazing outpatient team to help conquer the day and the eating disorder. Some days are better than others. Some days my mind screams, and some days it's a little quieter. It really is difficult if you don't have somebody in your life that has had an eating disorder to describe what that's like. But when I was at Laureate, they have a family week, and this gentleman was sitting next to my husband, and probably the best description was, he said, it's like a bomb goes off in your family and in your friend group. It really is because it's food, so the very thing that scares us, the very thing that screams in our mind is the very thing that sustains us. You get emotional wounds over the years, you get mental wounds, and it affects those around you who want to save you from this mental illness. It's so passé to think it's just about wanting to look cute or be the skinniest girl in the room. In my life, I can't fight without God's help and strength. I've tried. Without his help and his support of so many others, I choose the eating disorder, and the loud voice in my mind wins. Hope really showed up in my family just a few years ago when I was told that I needed to go to eating disorder treatment. For years, we knew I needed to go, but we didn't have insurance that would pay for it, and it's a privilege to get help. So I couldn't go. I did have an outpatient team at that time that were helping to sustain me, and for them I'm very, very thankful. But help is a privilege to many people, and some who have never been without the option of full-time help. I was on the opposite end of the spectrum, and I'd never been given that option really. Before treatment, I did not have hope in my future, which, coming from a mom and a wife who seemingly has everything to say I didn't have hope in my future, that's just how sick I was. My days were more and more spent in bed, and I was weak and tired, and I was unable to fight. My conversations with my precious daughters who deserved a healthy mommy were desperate and few. I was taking myself out of the future of my family. And in the pictures that I was in, I very rarely saw me. My heart was shrinking, my organs were desperate. My team here said that the only way for me to live was to get ultimate help in full-time patient care. I needed 24-hour support, I needed to be refed, and I needed to learn how to live again. I was so scared to go. For those of you in here, my friends, when I was telling you that I needed to go, just the tears were pouring. It wasn't that, well, it was a lot of things. It was that I was scared to gain weight. It was that I was scared to be away from my girls and miss a single thing. But mostly, I was just scared of the unknown. The biggest thing for me, though, I didn't want to leave a legacy of not fighting for my life for my two girls who were at home wanting a mom. There is never a convenient time to go away and get help. Trust me, if I would have been more convenient time, I probably would have chosen never. But when we found out that I needed to go, and Laureate was the place for me to pursue at that time, I can remember thinking, I've got to commit to go or I won't go at all. So a little side note here, don't worry, it's in the plan of my paper, but I wrote a side note. A little side note is that we took my oldest daughter to start her freshman year in college to school, and I didn't know when I was going to get to see her again, because the very next day I would need to go to inpatient treatment. And at that point, I looked at the other moms and how invigorated they were and just how much energy they had, and I just thought, I can't go fast enough. And we drove to Tulsa after saying goodbye to my youngest daughter, who was going to be a sophomore in high school. And we got in the car, and after being married 21 years, that was the quietest ride we have ever had. Just my husband and I. I'm sure he was doubting if he was doing the right thing, but he was standing fast on what had been prescribed for me to do. And then we got there into this tiny parking lot, and we sat there, and it was kind of comical once I look back on it. At the time, it was terrifying. But right when we got there, he popped open the car door, and he unlocked it. And as soon as he would unlock the door, I would lock it. And then he would unlock it, and I would lock it. We did this little skit for a good 3 or 4 minutes. And I was just crying, saying, please don't make me go. And about that time, at my window, was a young lady, and she said, are you Stacee Goetzinger? I could see her mouthing it through the window, and I said, yes, I am. And she said, I've been waiting for you. And I got out, and we went and got my bag, and if anybody in here knows how I pack, I overpack. And I had the tiniest little Nike bag full of clothes because I was not sick enough to stay, in my opinion. And that's just how sick I was. I was exactly where I needed to be. Treatment was ultimate support from amazing and smart and strong people. I wasn't so lonely in my illness while I was away. I was understood. To say that you are called to a profession such as mental health is an understatement. Y'all are unsung heroes, hope givers, all who keep life in front of someone who struggles to live so that eventually they can thrive. The ladies that I shared a table with were amazing. They are my allies forever now. They are my cheerleaders. When I would sit there and cry through almost 400 meals or snacks or desserts or whatever, it seemed so overwhelming and daunting until they would say, Stacee, if you just take the next bite, then you get to go see Riley, and she's going to be dancing, and she's going to be looking for her mom. And I would take a bite, and then they would say, but what about Shelby? She's at college. She really wants her mom to come and do a college visit when it's family week. And I would take another bite. And that's just how basic it was for me sometimes, but it seemed very complex in my screaming mind. All of the people who saw me there at my very lowest point and my highest point are my heroes. That's when hope began to really step in for me. After a few months of these intense meals and a lot of grace, it was time for me to try my new skills at home. Going home, I'd gotten used to this environment of feeling so supported, and I was so scared to go home. I was then asking them if I could stay. So see, I'm just all over the map on this. I had a lot of anxiety around it, but I found I wasn't the only one. I knew I was going to return to Fitbits, diets, people who exercise, all things of which I've known to abuse. And so I was really nervous about all of that. My friends didn't have to stop doing what was best for their health and their life just because I abused it. But I sure was nervous. What I found, though, when I got home was people who weren't judging me. It was people who were glad I was alive. Please never underestimate who you are in the life of someone who is trying to live. Never underestimate the power of encouragement in a person's life, because everyone is struggling with something. It may not be something that is life-threatening, but every one of us in this room has a struggle. We were made to live in community and with support from one another. So support for me looked like cards when I was away. Looked like cards when I got home. Looked like people coming and asking me to go grab an ice cream because they knew I had 4 desserts and 5 exchanges. And those of you who are in that realm, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a lot. No support can mean the difference in staying in recovery or relapsing. Now, there have been some changes. With our girls, I see hope in the form of 2 amazing redheads who have learned grace and mercy and the preciousness of life because they've seen their mom almost lose hers. Now, our talks are full of hope about the present, and I'm learning to put myself back in those pictures. Still a little tentative sometimes about that, but I'm working really hard on it. And now, when we go to Dallas to see our girls, I'm more than a shell who has to rest in the car while everybody goes into the restaurant to eat. Doug, I know this to be true. Our marriage has been anything but a delicate dance. It's been more than a game of 2 hearts. It's been more intentional on your part than anyone's. You chose to marry me, and you knew I had a mental illness. You knew I had depression. You knew I didn't want to eat. And you still chose me. You saw beyond my mental illness and saw me as more than anorexia. We lost a child, a son, from me being so sick. He was undernourished, and we had to go ahead and let him be taken. So we've been through a lot, and we're still standing, but we're standing together. You saw me, even though I still struggle to see my true self. It's amazing to choose life, but what you knew is something I didn't know, and that was when I got home from treatment, the battle was only going to start because then you got to practice what you've been taught. My favorite Bible verse is, I will not die but live and will proclaim what God has done, and that comes from Psalms. It's one that I cling to. It's short. I like short things. The extended things kind of wear on me a little bit. It's both basic and profound, so it helps me a lot. God has used people with and without eating disorders, self-harm, and clinical depression to help me commit to one day and then the next. No matter what we are struggling with or going through, the battle becomes less of a war when we talk about it. And one meal at a time, we begin to see small victories that turn into hope for that day and then for the next. Doug and I have sat up many nights, not wanting to make people so lonely when they go through mental illness issues. It's a lonely road. People don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to treat you. But we decided that at different points in my journey, that if somebody needs someone to walk along with them, that we would be those people. That there's no reason for people to be lonely in something when we can come together and walk together. We want to live out our purpose, and our struggles aren't for nothing. Finally, I wanted to show y'all something. I'm not here to advocate tattoos, because that's everybody's own choice. I'm not really a tattoo gal. But when I got home after a few months, one night I was sitting in bed with Doug and I said, I want to get a tattoo. And after I got him off the floor, he said, of what? I was like a big dragon. And I said, I want to get what my therapist told me every day that I can't seem to remember on my own. And on my wrist I have suffered enough. And sometimes we need permission to stop suffering, because we don't come to that conclusion on our own. And so I went and got it, and it was funny because that night I got home and Doug had written in Sharpie on his wrist, me too. So I was like, oh, bless your heart. I needed someone to say that my choices can define my quality of life and everybody else doesn't have to. And she would say this to me, and I would refute it. But you don't know what I've done in my past, but you don't know this about me, but you don't know this about me or that about me. And she would say, Stacey, you have suffered enough. 30 years is a long time. And it's now becoming slowly a reality in my life. I'm not there. You don't jump in this recovery. You take it one step at a time. And I just want to say to her who's here tonight, she's here tonight, I love you no matter what. To my inpatient nutritionist, I would like to say that I am trying so hard. Where'd you go? I want you to know I'm trying so hard to choose relationships over eating disorder. And to my outpatient team who I see right now, you see the messiness of my life every single day. And you stay. Even when you see my name on the appointment book, I guess. Your love and consistency blows me away. Thank you. Truly, it's been an honor to stand up here for you tonight, a place I never thought I would get to be. It doesn't mean I've got it all figured out. It means I just keep taking the next step, and sometimes when I take one step forward, I'm allowed to take 2 steps back and then another step forward. It's a process. But thank you so very much for coming to an unforgettable evening for me. I hope it turns into that for you. Thanks.